sit down for a minute and get to know KP and Bryn, our champion guests for the weekend. So we started this little format last year, the first Westie weekend, and we had a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to talk about you guys real quick, and then we got some questions queued up that some of our dancers sent in, and I have some of my own. So I'll start with Bryn. You grew up in Northern California, began West Coast swing dancing with your parents at 5 years old, and began competing in your teens, earning your first champion point at 17. She also danced International Latin at the Open Gold level, and fun fact, her first Dance Jam event was Mad Jam 2017. So she's been part of the family for a while. Ken, or KP, grew up in Houston doing hip-hop. He became a semi-professional Dallas swing-out dancer. That's the regional style they do down there. That was before finding West Coast Swing in 2015. He did very well in competition, entering the Champions Division in 2019. So, a little slow, She's ahead of you. And his first Dance Jam event was DCSX in 2016. So he can remember just a little longer. The two of them have partnered in dance since 2017, and in life, a year later, 2018. Their first competition together as a couple was Mad Jam 2018. Doing a classic routine? That's how we got it started? Wow. Okay, that's something. First dance together, first competition together. There's a caveat, right?
Technically our first competition.
You can tell them, yeah.
Test. Hi. Sorry, I got distracted. So we started dancing with each other at Grand Nationals in Rising Star, and then we debuted our classic routine for that year at the Open, and then we danced throughout the year with that.
Got it. Okay, so you got it right by the time you brought it to us. Imagine.
Sure. I saw some videos out there, and I was like, no. I hear these out.
I think what you're seeing behind the Casey put together a loop of all of the videos from Dance Jam events that you guys are performing in. So there's a lot of history.
Hey, Casey. 2 hours long.
2 hours, she said. Well, it'll be on there all weekend, so we're going to get it in little 3-minute chunks. Okay, let's get some questions. We asked people to send in questions. Alba from New York asked, where did you meet, and what made you realize you'd be great dance partners?
Do you want to take that?
Sure. So we met in, I feel like they're not part of the conversation. So I'm like over here. Can we just...
Mine swivels.
Why do we have that
Very
shirt?
jealous. That's okay.
It's also taller, so I can reach you guys eye to eye. Exactly.
Indeed.
And I'm swinging my legs today. This never happens.
It's true.
Okay.
You are moving the entire chair.
It's fine.
Not at all. So
These guys are very shy and not funny at all.
I don't remember what we were talking about. Oh yeah. Okay, so we met kind of social dancing in the Houston scene. We were both dancing in and from Houston at the time. We never really talked at all. We weren't even friends. But then I was looking for a routine partner, and being someone who's very tall, I'm like 5'10"ish, it was really hard for me to find a leader who could duck me or do anything to get over my head comfortably. So I was hanging out with my dad, and he was like, wait a second, why don't you ask Ken if he would be interested in doing a routine with you, because we just saw him dance at like Jack and Jill, and you'd had a great spotlight with Yvonne Benavides. Yeah. And I was like, wait, yeah, like I haven't seen him around for very long, but he's like really good. he's from Houston, and he's a giant. And so we started as partners, had no idea that we would become best friends, and then like each other. Yeah.
No, but the funny thing is that before Bryn asked me to be her routine partner, a lot of people in Houston were looking for routine partners, and they were like, you know, KP, you're a really great dancer. It'd be awesome if we could do a routine together. And I must have said no to like 4 different people. Because when Brenda asked, I was like, she was an all-star at the time. I was an intermediate dancer. And then I was like, I cannot say no to Bryn. But I have told 4 people that I don't like to do routine. And so I'm like, I gotta make an exception. And you know, none of them have actually come up to me afterwards and been like, you know what, you said no to me. But, you know, it worked out. Yeah. Anyway, next question.
Happy ever after, yes. Okay, we do have another question. This comes from Hannah in Northern Ireland. Is Hannah here? Oh, that's Hannah. Welcome. Okay, so her question, knowing you've been dancing your whole lives, can you pinpoint a moment when you realized you could start teaching West Coast swing? Did it feel early in your career, or maybe some imposter syndrome? Or did it feel like a natural progression of your dancing journey?
Ooh, I'll start. I'll catch that one. Okay, so I understudied Mario Bauer for 2.5 to 3. You know who Mario Bauer is, right? Yeah, so he was my original coach. I understudied him for about 2.5 years before I taught my first class. So I didn't have imposter syndrome because basically he was like, KB, you don't do this, you don't do that.
That's exactly what he sounds like, by the way.
I mean, he would really just relentlessly teach me how to teach West Coast swing. And if you've ever taken from him, you understand he's a genius. He's one of the best teachers that I've ever experienced. One of the best coaches. And so his instruction for both how to dance and how to teach dance has been just phenomenal. So, no, I didn't have imposter syndrome because I studied under one of the greats. So that's why.
I did not. And I absolutely had imposter syndrome. Because, I think at the time I was maybe 14, and I tried teaching the beginner class at my studio. This was with Damon and Lisa, D'Amico at the time. It's different now. But I think at the very beginning, I had no idea how much teaching took, and it was just kind of an assumption that you would start teaching once you got to a certain level. But like as KP was describing, having somebody to train you and actually teach you how to teach it should be, I think, one of the requirements for starting to have your own group classes, because otherwise it is so much harder. And thankfully I did find somebody to teach me how to teach. But it took a long time, and it was really stressful. So yeah.
Nice work. It all worked out. We're happy. All right, this one is for Bryn, but either could answer, I guess. This comes from Kelly, one of our local dancers here. How did you learn to isolate and pop and lock? When did you begin, and how did you refine it?
I learned. That was great. So I started doing international Latin when I was like 13 or so, because I sucked at West Coast swing and I wanted to get better. And then, spoiler alert, international Latin actually does help a lot with that. So it gave me a lot of contra-body ability, like all the Cuban motion stuff that you have. I was able to start like contorting different things, but then I didn't actually learn how to isolate very well, or definitely not incorporate it into West Coast swing until we started partnering, because isolations were kind of his thing. And then they, yes. And then they diffused into me because I could also kind of do them, and then they became our brand as a partnership. But it was really a combination of learning from him and then the previous Latin training.
You know, it's weird because like Bryn is more so known for isolation than I am. And I'm like, but you got it from me. But that's just the way it works out. You know, I would say, like, I have other students that like they learn, like, they come up with cool, like, new patterns and stuff. And then I steal them and put them in routines and Jack Jills. And they're like, hey, that's my pattern. I'm like, not anymore, Bryn. I'm really more now. So I get it, you know.
Fair. Funny how that works out. All right, I got another question that sort of evolves from our conversation last night. How has West Coast Swing changed since you guys started dancing and maybe since the pandemic?
Slower music.
So slow. So much slower.
Slow.
Like 110 beats per minute is fast for you guys. You realize that's just no way.
So, I mean, that is kind of funny coming from us, because I know anybody else who started like 10 years before us, their fast would be considered like over 140 beats per minute, and our fast is probably over 120.
Right.
And then y'all's is anything over 100, and I'm like, back in my day. But yeah, I think with the tempo change, there's also been a lot more space for conversation between partners, so I feel like followers have a lot more control over the dance now, and I'm very happy about that. That makes me very happy. I like it. Yes.
I think when I first started dancing, it wasn't so much very leader-centric, but it was kind of like making the transition between being completely leader-centric to follower-centric, and our pendulum is basically swung all the way to the other side, where I am just like, follower, tell me what we're doing, the entire dance. And you know, you have a lot of success that way. And so I found that we go around the world and we teach West Coast Swing. That's one of the biggest things that we talk about. That if you listen to the followers, you ask questions in the nature of your dance, they're going to give you more responses. You're going to have a better conversation, you know. And so that's kind of what we preach basically everywhere we go. And it's kind of taken hold a little bit, not as much as I would like. I tell some leaders, we had this workshop in Houston, we were teaching All-Stars, and I was telling the leaders, all right, so I just need you guys to just listen to your partner. And so then we would play music, and the leaders would immediately start talking, just leading their partners everywhere. And I would cut the music off. Guys, how about you get in close position, maybe wait, see what your partner wants to do. Play the music. Music comes on, leaders immediately moving. I'm like, what did I just say? And it's just been it's a struggle. And so I think now, especially at the higher levels, all-star champion levels, leaders are understanding. You know what, if I ask a follower, what should we dance to? How should we move to this music? We have a much better dance because I'm going to be doing everything that's within their purview, within their expertise, and I'm not going to have to fake anything. It's just going to organically work, and we're like, yeah. So just listen to your follower. It's so much easier already.
Okay, back to the slow down over time with the music. Do you think that's going to turn around? Because we've only got so many more years before we're in slow motion and we can't even find each other.
Yeah, before we're at like 50 beats a minute.
Right.
Or something.
We'll fall asleep and take a nap in between beats.
I think that there's a threshold where it stops making sense. So like for instance, if we play music that's like 90 beats per minute in a novice class, we see a lot of struggle because it's hard to control your weight transfer smoothly that way. And so I think it's going to start kicking back up. So I think the lowest threshold we're going to get is 95 beats per minute. It's going to start going back higher.
Right. And where's that change originate?
What?
Where's the change originate? Did the DJs affect that, or is it it's going to be the champions, the influencers, the folks with millions of followers online?
So if you talk to Robert Cordoba, he says that the music that teachers play in their intro classes at home in like local scenes is what people come to expect when they continue to social dance and travel the circuit. So if you are a local teacher then I hope you realize that you have maybe a lot of power in determining what tastes people have when they do West Coast swing. Because most of y'all, if you think about it, you think, what kind of music do I like? It's probably very similar to what you learned the dance to, because that's what you fell in love with in the first place. So I think he has a very good point about that, and I want everybody else to think that too.
Yeah, that's a good point. We have a lot of local teachers in the room with us too.
Play faster music, local teachers.
If you want to.
Heard. Okay, well this next question you might have already answered, but what's something you think the West Coast swing community could do better?
Play faster music, local teachers.
We'll take that. Do you have a different one, or you're thinking on it?
So, from a competitive standpoint, I feel like we may have gotten into a rut of doing the same things over and over to hit phrases. That's just like one of the things that comes to mind. Like, you know, in an all-star final, it's going to be telemark, inside turn, dip. At least once every dance. And then it's also going to be slingshot, Royston legs, Royston legs, Royston legs. Like, they're going to happen. And I feel like people used to be able to be a little more creative or unique with their pattern and styling choices. And so I want to see that individuality come out more again.
All right, we have work to do. All right, a final question, and thank you both for doing this. It's really nice to sit with everybody and learn a little bit about you sort of off the dance floor. So the final question, what would you tell us about your engagement story? That's the big one.
I'll let you tell us today.
Okay. So, I don't really know where to start.
In the year 1843.
Well, I have it right here, 2017, and then in 2018, yeah.
So, at this year's Open, as you guys... Last year, sorry. The Open 2025. If you guys have seen our classic routine, you know it's very romantic. Very emotional. And so whenever I also have to say that this is the first routine that's like felt kind of more like home for me. So it was really special because like I feel like I can dance more, and then it was like the one routine where like all of a sudden I'm actually starting to be happy to practice it. So I have practice videos where I'm like going back from starting the music to like get into beginning position, and I'm like, I get to do it with my babe, ha ha ha. And this is usually during a very stressful time, which is the Open. So like, the routine is making me feel all these feels, and we've been together for forever. Neither of us really had like a strong desire or sense of duty to get married. It was just kind of like one of those things that maybe would happen, whatever. But then, we were backstage, about to debut our routine at the Open. And we do this rock thing whenever we are about to perform. We have a very like elaborate warm-up schedule, and this is part of the ritual where we're like trying to sync up as much as possible. And I'm like holding back tears. I'm like, this is gonna be beautiful, and I'm so scared, and I don't want to mess it up because it's the Open, but I love him. And then I was like, you know, there's this little voice in the back of my head. It was like, it would be awesome if you asked him right now. And I was like, shut up. And we keep rocking, and we keep rocking. Do it. No, because the thing was, I also wanted to make sure that like, I wasn't asking, so I knew that if I asked, and he said yes, that we would have an amazing run after that.
Imagine if I had said no.
But then that was weighing on me because I'm like, I don't want to just ask him and have this like conflicting thing where it's like, oh, well, I only asked you at that moment because I wanted to have a good run. That would be stupid. But then eventually I was like, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell him that I want to ask him, but I'm not actually gonna ask him right now. Which worked out great. So then we keep rocking, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask. Or no, I'm gonna say that I wanna ask. He's like, okay, I have a question. Okay, this is not it. This is not it. This is not like the real thing, okay? Which I'm wondering what you were thinking at that point.
I have no idea.
Okay, fantastic.
Do you need to go take a shit or like, what's happening right now?
Probably, yeah.
Double guess. We're about to dance at the ocean.
And anyway, it's a real thing. So I say like, this is not it, but I want to ask you to marry me. And he immediately said,
Absolutely.
yeah. And then I was like, don't make me cry. Shut up. Anyway, I can't talk anymore.
Well, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that personal stuff with us in the rest of the world.
Dance Jam Productions.